Hey, hey, BA fam. It is time. It is time. It's your girl, Mandi Money. Happy Friday. Happy BAQA Friday. Should we just get this over with, since the legacy that Tiffany has left me with is that I must sing? It's time for the BAQA. Hey, the BAQA. What you say? The BAQA with Manday. The BAQA. The BAQA. Hey. Can y'all, even if you're on YouTube right now, if you're watching on YouTube, this is not a boa. This is just the closest blanket I could find that my children, even though mommy gets the nice blankets from Home Goods, my children always steal them because they need to build forts. And so don't tell me why this really nice Home Goods blankie is down here in the playroom. But here's where we're at. So I put on a red lip because it's freezing. We are in the winter. We are in the winter of all winters. This is the time of year when my little Georgia Southern peach heart starts to wither and shrivel up. You guys can't see it, but I actually finally listened to my therapist and I got one of those daylight therapeutic light things. And it is useful. I recommend it. I can't say for sure if it's like had a huge impact, because for me, December, I mean, my body is like, okay, fine. It's cold and dark. It's December. It's the holidays. When you really need to check on me, check on your girl, check on your seasonal affective disorder girlies, is the end of February and March. Because March has no business being as miserable as it is up here in the north, okay? But I am really excited for today's episode, y'all. BAQA. You know, in the past, we would do 1 week career, 1 week money, but now there's no rules because I am rewriting all the things for Brown Ambition. And I'm going to do one career and one money question every week. I'm going to do whichever questions I think are really representative or like universal problems that's just my approach to choosing questions. I'm like, oh, do I think this question could appeal or pertain to like a lot of people? So please keep sending your questions in. You can send them to me directly at Brown Ambition Podcast on IG. You can also email us, brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. You can send a voice note. You can type it out, whatever you feel. Okay. But we've got two really juicy questions today. Let's dive on in. Now get your salt shakers out because y'all ain't going to sue me. Not today, because the disclaimer is going to do the work, okay? Disclaimer. This is for entertainment purposes only. I am not a registered financial advisor. I am not a fiduciary. I am not your financial advisor. I ain't nobody's financial advisor, okay? I'm just someone who's got a lot of years under her belt in the business and finance space and has been doing Brown Ambition for nearly a decade. So there's not much that I haven't seen. I'm also a career coach. I have a thriving career coaching community called the Mandi Moneymakers. Check it out if you haven't, mandymoneymakers.com, mandymoney.com. And let's dive in, because why wait? And I'm going to do my best not to sing the soundtrack to Wicked during this little moment, because listen, I have a microphone in front of me. I got a red lip on and I saw Wicked and it is everything. It is my entire personality now. But y'all did not come here to hear me sing Defying Gravity. That is not why we are here. All right. So our first question is going to come from Tony on IG. And I love a name ending in Y, but you make it an I for obvious reasons. Mandy with an I, Tony with an I. All right, Tony. Tony says, Dear Brown Ambition, I recently started a catering company and I'm currently working on my personal credit journey to build good credit so I could apply for a business credit card with a low interest rate. I cried when my credit score took a 100-point hit. I've taken some steps to pay down all three of my credit cards. First, I was paying off a charged off card, which I was able to settle in full for less than $900 in 2023. Second, I applied the avalanche method to paying down the credit card with the highest interest rate. I've been able to cut down at least 60% of that card's debt. On my third card, I asked my creditor for a lower interest rate so I could afford the payments while I was looking for gainful employment, which lowered my rate to 9.99%. That's amazing. They locked the card for a year and I made a minimum of $60 payment per month. Now the year is over and this card has the highest amount of $3,018. The second card currently has a balance of $1,900. However, that card is now restricted. And even if I pay off the balance in full, I won't be able to use the card again. The credit limit will still show on my credit report. So, my question to you ladies is, would it be best if I close the account that is restricted and pay a settlement amount for the second card? That way I can save some of the money and put that money toward paying the only active card that I have now with a high balance. I don't mind my credit taking another hit because I really want to pay off all the debt and then start rebuilding from scratch with a better credit history and payment habits. From an avid listener, hopefully Tony. Okay, Tony, I'm going to think for a bit because this is a bit confusing. All right. First was paying off the charge card. All right, settled less than $900 into the second. Okay, there was a credit card. Cut down 60%. Okay. On my third card, got a lower rate. They locked the card. Second card. Okay, so that's the one you've paid off. However, that card is now restricted. Even if I pay the balance in full, I won't be able to use the card again. Okay. Okay, hopefully, Tony. Can I just give you some major props? Because what I love about your story is that you are not someone who just stuck their head in the ground when it came to tackling various credit card debt. You actually did something about it and you use some strategies that a lot of people, even though maybe we know, you could call them and ask them for a lower rate, or you could call them and ask for this or that. You've actually done it. So I just want to point out some of the great things that you've done. So you chose to settle a credit card debt. So credit card debt settlement, I mean, it's going to vary by issuer, right? And we have a really cool episode coming up with a representative. Her name's Natalia. She's wonderful, from the National Debt Relief, which is an organization that's all they do is help customers settle their debt. So we learn a lot about that in that episode, which is going to be coming January 1st. But back to your situation. So when you settle credit card debt, you're basically saying to the credit card company, like, I ain't got it. Okay. And I've been missing my payments. I do want to get this debt taken care of, but what can we do? Can I settle it for less? And if you are, the thing is, you need to, you technically need to be pretty delinquent on that debt. You probably need to have been missing payments for a few months or more. And then and unfortunately that means your credit will be taking a hit because you've got to be so behind that they're like, oh yeah, this person's clearly, not going to be paying this back. So it's in our best interest as a bank to at least get something from them. So yeah, we'll let them settle the debt. So I love that you took advantage of that, even though, like you said, it brought your credit score down 100 points. I mean, at this point, your credit score is probably in the poor to fair category, and you can build that back up. But I'm glad that you're kind of like trying to attack it all at one time, because if you have this period of poor credit behavior, the good news is that it will eventually fall off and you can, get some positive credit behavior to improve your score over time. So, but you're just in a tough period. Okay. All right. So you've settled that card for less than $900. That was in 2023. Now you're, organizing the rest of your credit cards by highest interest rate, and you've tackled 60% of your highest interest rate credit card debt. That's amazing. And then you've asked your creditor for a lower interest rate so you could afford your payments while you were unemployed. So you got your rate down to 9.99%. I mean, that's extraordinary. The average interest rate these days is definitely is it almost 20% or close to? It's somewhere around there, And it's interesting to hear that because they've agreed to lower that rate. They said, okay, sure, but we're going to lock the card. So you can't actually make any more payments on it. You can't actually, charge anything else to it. So I kind of like that because it stops you from using that credit card as a crutch or using it in times where you maybe would have when you maybe couldn't technically afford something. But that's a repercussion. So if you're thinking about using this strategy to call your credit card and ask for a lower rate, just based on Tony's story, I'm learning that they may say, okay, cool, we'll give you the lower rate, but you ain't gonna be able to use this card anymore. So that's a give and take. All right. So that's great. Now your payments on that card are only $60, but now the year is over, and going back to that high interest credit card, it's got a balance of about $3,000. All right. So now you're wondering, should I try to settle that credit card balance, that $3,000 with the higher interest rate? Should I try to settle it so I can save some of that money and put it on the active card that you have now? Now, this is the thing. It's another settlement. And because you've basically been on a payment plan. Like, you've been paying $60 a month and they've locked in your interest rate. I'm wondering if they would be open to settling that debt with you because you've been current on your payments. And like in my experience, lenders, creditors will settle, but they tend to be more willing to settle if you're like severely delinquent. So unfortunately, that could be a situation where you may need to stop making payments to qualify for that. But I think before you do any of that, just call them and ask. You could say, hey, it's been, how it's been a year since and thank you so much for working with me on the rate. But now I really need to like figure out what to do. I'm worried I won't be able to pay the balance in full. Is there any opportunity to settle the debt for less? And then see what happens then. At this point, your credit score is already taken the hit. So I I know that this would cause another hit. You're potentially losing having that credit limit on your credit report. And we know that utilization rate is such a big component of your credit score. So utilization rate is how much available credit you have compared to how much you're actually using. So when you close a credit card, it reduces the amount of available credit you have. So I know it's a little confusing, but stay with me. So it reduces how much credit you have. And also, credit scores are so goddamn stupid. Have I mentioned that? It's like, so here's all this credit that you can use, but we're only going to give you a high score if you don't use any of it, if you use the least amount possible. So it's such a trap. It truly, truly deeply is. And then they make it so easy. They make it so incentivizing to like use that credit card for the points, for the airline, for the miles, for the cash back, right? And because of that, we use it more than we maybe necessarily would because we can justify it by saying, well, I should use it because I get more points this way. And then you could end up with a high balance and then you're just stuck there with a really high interest rate, right? And then it's like, oh, wait, you used the card and you didn't pay it off in full. Well, then we're going to start knocking points off of your credit card debt. I mean, your credit score, right? Because that is increasing how much credit you're using versus how much credit we gave you. The magic percentage is usually 30% or less. So if you've got $10,000 worth of credit across like 3 different cards, you never want to be carrying more than like $3,000 across those cards. 30% is about where you want to stay. But of course, ideally, we'd be paying our credit cards off in full. But like, we don't live in an imaginary fairy tale land, okay? Sometimes you don't, listen, I don't pay my cards in full all the time. Sometimes you just ain't got it. Sometimes there's other priorities, right? But anyway, let me step off of that soapbox for a moment because credit scores are trash and it's all rigged and like they're dangerous, so dangerous. But I think, listen, like if it has worked for you, like if you can call and you can settle that debt for less, and you may get a hit to your credit score, but then you could go and you could get a secured card from a credit union. So a secured credit card, it's not really a credit card at all, but it basically helps you rebuild your credit. You can also get what's called a credit builder loan through a credit union. And this is where, and there are some like private companies that are not banks. I believe there's one called Self Lender, but you have to do your own research to find the best ones. But basically, they extend you some credit and they give you a certain minimum payment to pay each month. And you've got to make those payments on time. And you can't like use the card and charge it at grocery stores and stuff like that. And then basically after and those payments will be counted toward your credit report and then hopefully will help you rebuild your score. But like I said, I mean, you've got these charged off accounts. That's already dinging your score. You don't have a lot to lose. I mean, I know that you've just started your catering company, and that's what I'm like. I'm toying around with this, not toying around, but I'm considering that. I mean, your credit score is already on the lower side. You said you took a 100-point hit. You may already have a hard time qualifying for a business credit card or a business line of credit. I honestly think that you should pursue some non-line of credit financing if you need some financing. You can apply for an SBA loan. You can look at what kind of grants or loans are available through your state or through your city. There are programs that not enough, especially women of color, that we just are so much more likely to dip into our own piggy bank to finance our businesses. And that is not what the majority of successful business owners are doing. They're not using their own money. They're leveraging debt. They are leveraging loans or grants. There's other options for starting up a business. And I highly recommend listening to an episode of our show where I interviewed Stacey Abrams, who should have been governor of Georgia, but wasn't, whatever. It's fine. So Stacy has a book. I forget what it's called now. Where is it? It's somewhere around here. But anyway, she tells a story of how she founded a couple of companies through her entrepreneurial days, and how, she learned so much about financing, and how that was one of the reasons why her businesses closed, and how access to capital is like the biggest hill to overcome as a Black or brown woman in business. And yes, we are the fastest growing entrepreneur in the country, but we are also the most underserved when it comes to financing and having access to capital. And that's got to effing change. So I really encourage you to look and see what opportunities you have to raise capital without having to take on debt yourself. Because even if you do qualify for business credit, like how do you have to like buy the supplies for your catering company? You may need to hire help to expand and grow. And with the debt problems that you're having on the personal side, I don't tend to feel like you have a bunch of money just lying around that you could go ahead and like float yourself through your business. And you shouldn't have to. Like if you're a bomb ass caterer and you cook amazing food, then and you have like a client list, and you have the potential to have a thriving business, there should be opportunities out there for you to get the kind of financing that you need to get your business off the ground and actually open up that opportunity for you. So what is it? The SBA, the Small Business Association, there's loan programs. If you're a minority owned business, get classified as a minority owned. This is something that I'm working on right now too, a minority and woman owned business in the state of New York. I'm trying to get registered as that, because that sometimes you're only eligible for these types of programs if you are classified in that way. But there are opportunities to finance that don't have to come out of your own pocket. Okay. And that's definitely a topic that I'm passionate about. I've heard other, incredible Black female, brown female entrepreneurs talking about the same thing, from Morgan DeBon, from Blavity, and all the sessions I went to when I was at Afrotech, and Rachel Rogers. We've had Ellie Giop on the show, and she also talks a lot about, how a lot of her business and helping women is coaching them on where to find money that is not out of our own bank accounts, which is rare, because I think we tend to think, okay, I'm going to do this, I got to pull myself up on my bootstraps. Here's the gag: ain't nobody else using their bootstraps but us. Okay, everybody else is like, ka-ching, I'll cash that check, I'll apply for this, I'll get that, venture capital funding, and I'll get that loan or whatever. It sucks to feel like, okay, no one really explained this to us, and that's got to change. So hopefully this can be the beginning of that conversation. I hope that this helped. I think that you're on the right track, and you have been so strategic and smart about the way that you are managing your debt right now. And I just don't want the idea that, okay, your credit is obviously not great right now. That doesn't need to stop you from launching your business. You just need to be more tactful and strategic about financing your business in a smart way, and leveraging resources that may not have to just be, your credit to take on business credit that you may struggle to pay off as well. Maybe other forms of financing. Also, this is not going to be a quick journey. It takes money to pay down debt. It takes time for your credit to improve. It takes time to launch a business. And I just want to acknowledge and like validate probably the frustration that you may be feeling. Like, I just want to do this as my dream. I want to get it going, but I have these other things in the way. It may just take more time than you would like it to, but it is possible. And I think that you have everything you need to get done what you need to get done to make your dreams come true and to make this really come alive. But it just may take a longer time than you would like to, and that can be okay. All right. I hope that this helped you, Tony. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and transparent with your story. Please send another DM. Let us know how it's going. Let me know how it's going. Let me know if this was helpful. If there's other questions, BA fam, I love getting your questions. Again, hit us up at Brown Ambition Podcast on IG. You can slide into our DMs or email me at brownambitionpodcast@gmail.com. Thank y'all.